Now that we have the magic happen, let's dive into Solaris. So we are going to drop down a LOP network, and we're going to jump into here, and we're going to do a SOP create. This text. We're also going to go inside here, and we are going to do an object merge. We're going to 1, 2, 3, go to cables, bring in the lines, and then we're going to also do cable space, and then we have our cables. I'm actually going to do delete instances here. Just call this cables. We're going to do an object merge over here, and we're going to call this text. Basically, if it's from two different SOPs, I'm going to import them differently. We're going to also do lines on this text one, which is our lines. I'm going to do our background as light now while we're adjusting everything. Lines, neon glass, and poly. We should not get a transformer per se, but we shall get something looking like this. And if you have something looking like this or similarly close, good for you. Ignore any unfortunate shapes that your cables might put you through. If you are watching the tutorial, you might guess what I'm talking about. We're gonna drop down Karma. So we're gonna do a Karma setup here. Just for funsies, I'm just gonna go Alt, left click, camera, drop one down. We're not really needing a too complex one for this setup. We're going to just call this out cables. I am going to up my primary samples to 12. It's 12. I'm going to make sure my camera 1 is connected to my Karma render settings. We are going to have a backdrop behind it. So let's go back up to the SOP crate and let's drop down and bend. Bend to the right, bend to the left. We don't care. We need this to work. Let's do that. Let's drop down this chonky chonk. Yes, that is the proper terminology. Don't fight me on it. Give some space in between the backdrop and your letters. So if you want any lights behind your text, you can do that. My text is kind of crooked, as you can both see. So now that I've dropped down, actually that's good. Okay, I think that's going to work. And I think we're good on the grid front. Let's look through our camera, jump up to the top, look through the camera, make sure you're getting a nice layout of the viewport. So that's what we got. I'm seeing the ground underneath our text, but I think that's okay for now. We just have to make sure our ground has a path so we can put a material on it. So let's do that next. Let's add a little attribute create underneath our grid. We're going to call this path, primitive, string, ground. And this is going to be called outground. So now that we have all of our models imported, we're going to use a material library. And I'm also going to drop down a dome light. I'm actually going to drop down 2 dome lights so I can get some cool reflections to happen. But I'm going to turn one of them off for now. And I'm just going to choose a random HDRI that I've selected. Please use any HDRI that you feel like using. I'm going to kind of switch them out as I go along in this tutorial, but the HDRIs that I'm using are from Polyhaven. So if you want to go to polyhaven.com and check that out, highly recommend it. I think you'll get a lot of joy out of it. So currently, if I go to the Karma CPU and I render just with the dome light that I've selected, this is what I'm getting in my scene. And one more thing, we forgot to put UVs on our ground planes. That might actually cause some issues. Let's go over here, jump in, and do an auto. Let's go dive inside our material library and start dropping down materials. So material X, material X, material X. We're going to start with 3. We're going to have 1 for the ground. We're going to have 1 for the base lettering, so the sides. We're going to have front for the front-facing text. So now we're going to also have glass for the glass tube. We're going to have this for the neon line. We're going to have this for the cables. We're also going to do cables, glass. And that should be about it. So you're going to have around 7 materials. Then what we're going to do is go autofill materials. So everything gets promoted to the top of your network. Then we're going to go and make sure Karma CPU is turned off for this bit. We're going to go over here to build Solaris. So we're going to get into Solaris mode. Go to your LopNet again. Look through your camera again. Now for text, you should see a bunch of things. You can see that we didn't label some things correctly. Like there's a mesh here that should have a path on it. There's some points here that I don't know where they came from. So if you see things like this, it's time to go back into your network here and clean some stuff up. So we're gonna get rid of the rando points that we don't need. So we're gonna do remove unused points, remove unused points. We've got something all coming off of our text here. That's not cool. Let's go to our neon glass. For whatever reason, the path isn't working. Boolean. Oh, I see. Okay. There we go. So now everything should have a path to it, and we should be good to start attaching materials. So what I'm going to first do, switch over to rendering mode, go to my material library, and I know for certain for my cables, they're going to be black. So I'm going to select my cables, actually my cables and my cable lock, because those are going to probably be the same color, and drag them into the cable texture. The cable texture is most likely going to be black in appearance but you can texture your cables whatever texture you feel like it. But for this particular assignment, I'm going to just make them super rough. They're not going to have a lot of specular to them. The index of refraction is going to be really low, but they're going to be something like this. Pure black might not be a great idea, so I would do something more lighter, but you can do whatever you feel like. Let's go up to cables glass. So neon glass cable, you can see those ones selected. We're gonna do, so the cables glass will go in here. Once again, they're gonna be rough. They're gonna have some transmission to them because we have to see what's going on. They're not gonna have a super high index of refraction. They're not gonna have specular. We'll turn that down for now. And you can see that we've got some clear cabling happening. If we zoom in, you can see the clear tube to do the other stuff. So now that we have that, we're going to come back to neon lines because that's kind of where the heart happens to this tutorial. For the neon glass, we're going to make that super sparkly. Drag and drop the neon glass in the neon glass. Specular glass has an index of refraction, I would believe, of 1.8. So it's going to be a little bit metallic in appearance. I'm going to add a little bit of dispersion because I do like my rainbows. So a 3 is going to be good for me. So now we're going to do side text and front text in the ground, just because those are going to be easy to deb out. I'm going to allow you to decide what type of textures you want on your text, but we're just going to use what we have in Houdini to kind of get this job done. What we're going to do next is we're going to do text face. So front. So face, let's go in here to front text. It's going to be really metallic. I'm just giving it random values. I'm not too concerned on what I'm doing. I'm just making this different enough that, you know, when we put our Houdini neon colors on this, is going to stand out. So the next thing we're going to do is go to the side text. So now that we have that, we can do our ground. I like making the ground like something matte-like, just because it's not the center of attention. Our text is. So let's make this a fairly simple ground texture. We can make this a little bit industrial by throwing a noise pattern on it. We'll do a color ramp. So let's make this kind of matte-like. Diffuse roughness. Let's use that for now. Woo! Now for the fun bits, we get to do our neon. So we're going to want the neon cables, neon lines, text lines, and neon cables. So we're going to drag that into here. This is where the magic happens. We're going to go over here to neon lines, and we're going to say geo color is going to be plugged into all of the colors on this shader. So specular, emission. Now, we don't want this to be super shiny, so I'm going to turn down my index of refraction. This is a line. We're going to do a prim variator. So we're going to plug in to emission to try emissive with a capital E. This is looking very promising. Now, some of you might have noticed something interesting happened. We're starting to see our color. We're starting to see like some interesting things, but what we also need to do is actually multiply our color by our emissive as well, because otherwise it's just not going to work out for us correctly. We're also seeing something weird happen, or if we zoom in, our cables, it's not glowing to the extent that we would like. So I'm going to do a multiply parameter. We're going to multiply our emissive value. I'm going to leave this at 1 for now. Double this or triple this by 12. That is looking pretty cool. However, we are missing a lot of detail here. Things are looking a little bit weird and different from the version that I showed here. Our glass looks a lot clearer. Our lights look a lot more visible. Our cabling back here, we can actually see the glow inside of it. Here, not so much. So let's go inside and fix everything. Big problem of why this doesn't look the way it should is due to our lighting and also our materials. So let's go double check. We also need to double check the thickness on the incoming wires inside our cables, because if we have the incorrect thickness and it's overlapping with our cable, our kind of glass cables, it's not going to look correct either. So let's double check that we have a good size width on this. Let's go back to our LobNet. Okay, that's better. I'm not seeing that kind of refraction in the glass that I was hoping for. So let's play with our settings, see what we can do. Let's go to the cables glass and check that out. So dispersion 4, I'm gonna do 8. I'm waiting for that kind of light to appear in our cables. I'm not seeing it yet. I'm zooming in and I'm seeing this kind of weird geometry overlap that I don't really want to see. Okay, so I found the reason why our lights weren't appearing where they should be. In our cable generator, I forgot to switch this blast node to delete non-selected. And if we do that, we should probably get them in the right place. So try that if you're struggling to see kind of the lights in the tubes. And yes, we are successful now. We can see it right there. So that is looking good. Let's attach everything together. And now we're getting somewhere. So now we're getting some pretty psychedelic tubular motion. I'm not a big fan of how shiny some of the glass cables are. So I'm going to go back inside here and just turn down the index of refraction and the specular and make this look pretty. Yeah, something like that might look better. And let's definitely change up the lighting, because the lighting is looking absolutely horrendous. I'm going to choose a different HDRI, and now I'm going to fool around with my lighting settings to kind of get it something that I like. I'm going to drop down my second dome light to see if I can get some kind of deeper psychedelic shadows on this neon. If there's any ones that I find that have like a nice orange tint to them, I might throw them in just to see what I can do in terms of enhancing that neon glow. So feel free while I'm adjusting my lights to adjust yours and go through the scenes and, make everything look pretty. Use your best artistic integrity. So neon lights are going to do better in like a darker setting. One thing that I also like to do when I'm doing neon shots like this is to also backlight everything. So what I'm going to do here is turn off my rendering and drop down an area light and just position it behind my object. Now I'm going to look through my camera again through the CPU. And now you're going to see that there's a light source behind this, but if I increase the intensity of this area light, you can see that I might want to push this area light forward a little bit or have it somewhere in here. I'm going to turn down my intensity to 2. I'm going to do something like an orange enable color temperature of the width and height of this light. You can do points here. I recommend rectangle or sphere, so you can highlight individual neons lights if you want to. You can also do cylinder. Cylinder does give you that kind of nice glow to it. I'm gonna punch this behind. So I'm gonna use something like that, and if you're wondering where the purple is coming from, in my letters, that is actually for my HDRI. So I'm actually gonna swap that out because I'm not enjoying that purple color. I think it's a little bit conflicting, so I'm gonna just swap that HDRI out. Ah, no, the purple is actually from when we had that kind of navy blue dark tone. So you can see here if I go to a different frame, it doesn't fully go away, but it's there. So let's adjust that purple tone by going back into text, going to our lines during this pulse group up here and changing this to a dark gray, dark black, or if you don't want to do a complete black, that's okay too. And then diving back into our LobNet. So you should get something like this. So you can see big difference in terms of how this is working. And for our area light, just going to make the radius a little bit bigger. Just a little bit bigger, not too big. or decide whether we want to put this. If we want to do front lighting, sometimes I find front lighting is a little bit too much, but you can see here this was working pretty well. And that's how you would get, as messy as that was, that kind of text design using the poly frame tool and creating this kind of Houdini neon effect. But you should overall see something like this, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. My name is Kate, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!